everyone, this is Aubrey.
And this is Melody.
And welcome back to our podcast, Mostly Macabre.
We did it!
Yay! We nailed the intro. 552!
Aubrey was calling it a podcast.
A podcast.
The podcast.
Oh, God, we couldn't get anything right today.
I'm the one that should be talking like that. I just got back from Boston.
So jealous.
Yeah, that's how I know I'm old. Like, for my birthday, I was like, I don't want to celebrate. But Melody's like, yeah, I'm going to Boston for my friend's birthday weekend.
I know, I don't even...
Birthday weekend? What the fuck is that?
I don't even do a day. My sister, though, Geminis, I swear... She's like, it's my birthday month. It's my birthday year.
Yeah, I'm a Gemini. Can concur.
With the crown and everything.
I made everybody go on a yacht with me like a few years ago for my 30th. Because I was like, it's my 30th. And we did like a whole thing. It was a lot of fun, though.
That is fun. I'm just like...
It's all downhill from there. So.
Yeah, it's true.
No, I plan to do it again.
I just like, on my birthday, I don't even tell people at work. They're like, isn't it your birthday? I'm like, shh. No.
Because fucking HR knows.
They always know.
They tell everyone.
Although at our former place of employment, we at least got ice cream cake or something like that.
I got cake. No, my boss got us lunch. It was nice.
Okay.
Although, the year before they fired me, they did not remember my birthday.
Ooh.
I should have known it was all
They
downhill
threw
from
me
there.
a party when I quit. You should feel upset.
That's not what they did for me when I quit.
They weren't excited that I
Won't
was
get
leaving.
into that.
Let me clarify. The party wasn't like, yay, Kevin's gone. It was like, good luck on your future endeavors.
I know,
They were
but that's
probably
a
bitter.
nice thing. That means that they liked you. I thought they liked
Yes.
me.
And thank you to our friends from work who listen.
Hey, guys.
You know who you are.
Thanks for subscribing. Well, anything new? Are you guys watching anything?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah,
we
me
have
too,
an
but-
update.
You got really excited.
Kevin's favorite documentary, Abducted in Plain Sight, has a biopic.
I
don't know.
It's cancerous. It is cancerous after what happened to me.
I don't know how to say that word.
A biopic?
A biopic.
A docu-series.
No.
No, it's not a
just like
docu-series. I think it is a...
It's a show. It's like
that one.
well, I don't know how many parts it's going to have. It had 4. I don't know if there's any more after that. But
I
it's on Peacock.
Stopped watching after the second one.
Well, we know
I
what
fell
happened to me. I'll share with everyone because I was not happy. I fell asleep watching it. So this is just a public service announcement. Do not watch it while you're falling asleep. I fell asleep. And because you're going to dream that your significant other or spouse sleeps with your entire family, impregnates your younger sister. And then you're going to wake up feeling very uncomfortable and never want to sleep again and need to call your therapist. So,
if you still haven't seen the original documentary,
Oh my
what are you
goodness!
doing?
What are you waiting
you have
for?
to watch that first.
Let me articulate on this one. Abducted in plain sight. Well, you're going to think that they're sponsoring our show or something. They're not. We'd love it, but it's great.
Actually, no. No. You can keep our distance there.
I just had to bring it back up because it was
Yeah.
in our first episode, and it's Kevin's favorite,
It
and
is my
now
favorite.
It's what brought us together.
exactly.
But yeah, I did watch it. I fell asleep watching it. I regretted that decision. So that's just what I have to say about that.
Did you guys see? I think it's called Sins of Our Mother.
I didn't watch it.
It's brought to you by the people who did Abducted in Plain Sight.
Okay.
It is.
Is it good?
It's good.
Because I felt like I had it's Lori Vallow, right? That's her name? Lori. I had like enough of her.
Oh, you already followed it. See, I didn't know. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I didn't watch it. Because I was like, "Ugh, I had enough. But you know what? I felt
it
that
was hard
way.
to watch.
I felt that way about Jeffrey Dahmer that came out, the new one, Dahmer, and I was like, oh, just another Dahmer one. And then I saw who was playing Dahmer.
He's so good.
Evan Peters?
Evan Peters.
Oh, I love him. I love him. And he is such a good actor. So I was like, all right, I'll watch it. It didn't disappoint. It's intense. Did you watch it?
All of it.
Yeah.
I binged it in like 2 days.
Yeah, I had to binge it too. He's incredible. Mm-hmm. He's really such a like diverse actor. No matter what role they throw at him,
he's so
he
good.
Nails it.
He understands the assignment every time.
Every time. Like, every level of creepy, he hits it. It's so good. And even, what's her name? It's Niecy Nash.
Yeah,
she did an amazing job, too. She was really good. So, yeah.
I felt her pain. Like, I felt how distraught she was.
Yeah, she's usually she does a lot of comedy, but it was...
But she did great. No, it was actually really good, because I'm like, oh, another Dahmer thing. I've seen it all. But no, it was worth the watch. And I definitely binged it, too. But,
I think we need to advocate for that damn park that they wanted to put up in place of the building, and still nobody's done that for them.
Yeah.
We'll build it. No, maybe we won't build it, but maybe there's some sort of petition or something we can find
I'm not going to build it, but I will sign my name on a paper.
We'll advocate for it. Yeah.
If I had park money, I would definitely put it there, but I don't have park money.
What would you name it?
I would let them name it.
Oh, that'd be a fun little, not raffle, like a little poll to take.
Yeah.
Get some really good suggestions.
Oh.
Write those into me if you want.
I'll just sign the check.
I want to know what people want to name the Jeffrey Dahmer Park.
See, I should be thinking of something clever right now.
I know. I'm not fast enough. Write it in.
You worry
to our Gmail.
About enunciating. Okay, Kevin.
Okay.
Oh, snap. Melody's spicy today. She's taking digs left and right.
No, it's important to enunciate because you don't enunciate.
Maybe I shouldn't have given him this wine if I wanted him to enunciate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and that's the other thing, part of my dream. Not only did my significant other spouse sleep with my whole family and impregnate my sister, I took not even a whole edible, a half an edible, and it was like in my dream. I didn't do it in real life.
This is a lot going on in one dream.
I I never remember my dreams. I woke up feeling weird. I woke up like, what is going on? And it was like a big deal. Like, I went to eat the whole thing, and I was like, oh no, take half.
That's reasonable.
Wise advice.
I don't even take edibles.
But you knew enough to only take half.
In my dream I did. It was weird. I woke up weird. I texted you guys like right away. Like, okay, I need help.
And you reminded me that it had come out because I told you guys that it was coming out. And I was like, oh shit, I had completely forgotten.
Yeah.
So then I had to watch it last night. And I also fell asleep, but I didn't have dreams like you.
I gotta get on the ball. I gotta start watching.
You gotta get on that. Watch the Dahmer one. It's even better.
It's my favorite stuff.
You'd really like that one. So, it's spooky season, guys.
It's my favorite.
My favorite time of year. I am going to be going to Rhode Island.
I'm
for
so
Halloween.
jealous.
But you were just in Boston. And
I know, but it was so short.
And
it was
only 45
days.
minutes away from Rhode Island. So, or at least from where I live.
It's an expensive Uber, though. Like, the Uber from the airport to Boston, where I was at, was like $40. And it was like a mile and a half.
Wow.
Oh, my God. I think you got ripped off. I think you got ripped off.
I think it's the area. Because, like, the airport and then the area where she's at. It's very high traffic.
Yeah. That's a lot. All right. So, in honor of spooky season, we're going to be doing the next few episodes. We decided to do spooky. So,
the theme was spooky. I chose to go with witches, and there's so many of them. There's so many good ones. I didn't know where to go.
So you went straight to Boston?
Actually, I stayed away from Boston and New England in general because...
But physically, you went straight...
Physically, I went to Boston, but... For my story, I stayed away from all of New England because that's your territory. Like, I had a feeling you were going to do something New Englandy, and I didn't want to know what you were going to do.
Have I mentioned I'm from New England? I'm sorry.
So I did. That's why we have a podcast.
Get the podcast.
I'm going to try really hard not to slip up.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, I didn't want to know what you were going to do because I wanted to be surprised and, like, hear it for the first time.
And you knew that it would be something.
I knew it would be New England. knowing you. So I went all the way to Ireland instead.
Ooh, fun.
No.
And
Okay.
today's story is Alice Kyteler. She's the first convicted witch of Ireland.
You went all the way to Ireland in honor of all of our international listeners.
Yes!
yeah.
How could we forget to mention?
Shout out to everyone. Thank
Australia, we got quite a
Yeah.
percentage with you guys, and I love Australian podcasts. They're the best.
I love Australian people, especially those that listen to this show.
I love their accents.
everything about it. But no,
Tell
we've
your
got quite a
friends.
few people
Okay,
now.
here's the list. Thank you, U.S., Australia, the United Kingdom, Norway, Canada, Mexico, France, Italy, New Zealand, the Netherlands.
So good. Thank you
We're
guys.
happy to have you.
Tell all your
Oh,
friends.
we don't even have Ireland down there. So we're trying to get
Yeah,
them
we
We're
in.
trying to
We gotta break out.
expand.
Tell your friends.
We gotta hit that
Tell your
Irish
friends,
scene.
tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your frenemies to subscribe, like, comment, follow
Review.
on IG, interact with us, guys. Send us some stuff.
Yeah, if you've been part of a
Send
true
us-
crime or macabre thing, we want to hear about it.
Yeah, send us stuff like what you want to name the Jeffrey Dahmer Park.
There you go.
Things that you want to hear about.
Okay, let's go back to Ireland now.
Okay, back to Ireland. Alice Kyteler, she is the first convicted witch of Ireland. And Alice's life spanned from 1263,
Wow.
a really long time ago, to sometime after 1325. Nobody's quite sure when she died.
You mean you didn't put it in a computer database?
No, it was really hard to find any sort of database regarding
When was paper
Alice
invented?
Kyteler.
I feel like my son. How do you make wood? How do you make metal?
Was
This
in
was
When was
actually
paper invented?
inscripted onto the walls of a cavern in Ireland.
Nice.
I'm just kidding. No, it wasn't.
Kevin went for it.
Totally believe you. I was thinking stone scrolls or something.
They're guessing she was probably in her 60s at the time when she is estimated to have died. She was born at home in Flemingstown, County Kilkenny, Ireland, as the only child of Flemish merchants who settled in Ireland in the mid to late 13th century.
60's probably
again,
pretty old
a really
for back
long
then.
fucking time ago. That's true.
That's true.
That's
yeah.
probably like
That's like twice the life expectancy.
yeah. I was gonna say. I was
did
just
not
thinking
think of
about that. That was really old for back then.
She
So
lived then.
Yeah, probably her magic kept her alive.
That's why they thought she was a witch. You were like,
She just
she's
can't
supposed to be dead.
I'll tell you in a second what I think kept her alive.
Oh God.
Very little is known about her life prior to being married. I tried to find it for
Typical.
you guys, but yeah, there's not a whole lot of stuff or databases regarding.
Women are no one without a man back then, right?
Exactly. So until she was married, she really was just nobody, I guess.
Spinster.
So her first marriage number one.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're just going to
Spicy.
jump into her marriages. In 1280, at the age of either 16 or 17, Alice marries William Outlaw. That's her first husband.
That's an excellent last name.
Fantastic
William
last
Outlaw.
name.
And
So wait,
And it didn't end in divorce.
she's Mrs. Outlaw.
she's Mrs. Outlaw.
Nice.
Fitting.
That's awesome.
He was a wealthy moneylender and merchant in their same town of Fleming, so keeping it close to home. Alice and William then have a son who is also named William Outlaw and a daughter named Rose. Wikipedia had a question mark next to that, so,
so it
if
could just be-
Wikipedia doesn't know, nobody knows. So I also have a question mark. I'm not sure. I guess she had a daughter.
Possibly a daughter.
Possibly a daughter named Rose. But to me, it kind of sounds like Rose was just very low key. She was staying away from the drama, and possibly that's why there's a question mark.
Or someone just went on Wikipedia and added it for funsies.
Maybe.
Because that can happen.
It can,
Yeah.
but for all intents and purposes, Wikipedia is law here.
Yeah.
So in 1285, just 5 years after being married, Dad William, not son William, dies suddenly of some sort of illness.
Some sort of sorcery.
Some sort of illness. Her son William becomes Alice's business partner when Dad William passes away. Probably not immediately because he must have been around 5 years old at the time that his dad died, but eventually son William becomes her business partner.
You know what? You could say junior, senior.
Junior. Didn't think of that. Yeah. That would be easier to differentiate. Is that what they call them when that happens?
The first, the second.
The first one's usually senior. Second one's
Dad's
usually
son.
junior. Yeah.
Daddy-o. Daddy-o's gone.
Like we said, good wine tonight, everyone. Just
This is some really good wine. What did I say? Get you
Your liquor guy got it for
a
you.
liquor guy.
Melody's
They're always
got a
giving me the
liquor
best
guy.
recommendations over there. Back then, it wasn't unusual for the wives and the mothers of merchants to be involved in business, so Alice was running alone at first, which actually caught me by surprise that it wasn't unusual for the wives and the mothers to be involved in business, because I just thought that.
Yeah,
it
back
wouldn't
in
Well, no,
the
be
they
that
would
way.
run the business, but the men got the credit and the money. There you go.
Oh,
Right.
We triggered off.
So that's probably what it
Get
is.
me started.
That's probably what it is.
It's probably true.
And until 1303, William was declared an adult. At this time, he must have been around 17. So I guess they went ahead and declared him a full-grown adult because he
Pretty
needed to be a business partner.
Well, I
So,
mean,
back in the day, like now you have to get documentation. I'm thinking back then they're just like, I declare
Probably.
Now
Alice
it has
declared him an adult.
you're an adult.
well, if you can go to war at 14 or 13 back then,
Yeah.
then I think 17 is pretty well an adult. You can get married.
Pretty old to be an adult,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. It doesn't say exactly at what time he was declared an adult, but when he was adulty enough, Alice declared him an adult.
He got real tall.
Once he got taller than her, he was an adult.
Taller and hairier-ish.
That's what happens.
Once his voice cracked for the first time. Later, he even went on to become Sovereign, which is like the mayor, I guess, of Kilkenny. So he ended up being like political.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the first marriage.
That was the first spell
That
she
was
used.
second
Oh,
marriage.
second spell. The first, she killed her husband. Sorry. I'm coming up with my own story now.
In her second marriage, the sources say that by 1302, Alice was already married to her second husband. But to be fair, 17 years had passed if we do the math. So,
Already.
yeah,
17 years.
I think she waited long enough. This is the year that she marries Adam LeBlund of Callan, another money lender, because these money lenders be money in. They
Okay, you
seem
said
to-
money lender, not money launderer. Okay.
No, a money lender.
Oh, was that a mumbling comment?
Did I mumble? Money
Kevin.
lender.
Did I mumble?
Together, they were thriving. In 1303, William said that he was guarding, I don't know what this is. What is the symbol for? I think it's pounds, right?
That's a euro. So
Oh.
But they didn't have euros back then.
I don't know. The little L symbol.
It looks like an E.
He was guarding 3,000 of those in their money, 3,000 coins, which was apparently a lot of money back then. And I couldn't figure out the conversion from 1302 to today and then to
3,000
dollars.
If it was 3,000 euros in today's money, that's one thing.
That was like 3,000 clamshells.
It was a lot of money. They made it sound like it was a big deal.
I think that is the conversion.
I don't know. It sounds like a lot of money, so it seems like they were doing well. And in this marriage, 5 years into the marriage, in 1307, Adam quitclaimed to his stepson, which means he signed everything over to him, basically. So, like, all his goods, jewelry, chattels, land, and canceled all of his debts as well. I don't know what the debts were, but they were canceled. So to my understanding, basically, it's a little suspicious because Adam has his own kids as well. And instead of allotting certain things to his own kids, he just goes ahead, cancels all the debts, and signs everything over to William Outlaw Jr. Suspicious, right?
Suspicious or brilliant?
Suspicious.
Canceling them debts out.
And then Adam also dies suddenly of some sort of illness.
Sorcery.
So there's a little
It's
trend,
witchcraft.
going on here. In marriage number 3, 2 years later, so this time she didn't wait 17 years. This time she only waited.
Well, she doesn't have much longer to live.
There's only 2 years later, 1309, Alice is on her third marriage to another zaddy, Richard de Valle.
Did you say daddy?
Zaddy. Richard de Val was a wealthy man from County Tipperary. And Alice's pattern of financial gain is further established when William again has a financial come up as a result of his mom's marriage. So again, the dates are a little fuzzy because it's so long ago, but Richard de Val dies sometime before 1316, and the marriage lasts approximately 7 years after Richard dies.
I have a new theory of why she lived so long. I'll wait. Do you want me to
I can go ahead and tell you my theory. My theory is that she lived so long because she was getting rid of all her problems.
That I was just like, she's sucking out their soul and taking their life.
She's collecting souls. Yeah.
Alice sues Richard's son, also named Richard de Val, so we have another junior-senior situation here. She sues Richard Jr.
They did that back then. They had 4 names back then.
They still do
They only had a
that.
handful
John,
or two.
Richard, Sarah, Anne. That was it.
And she sues Richard Sr. for keeping her widow's dower from her. And I'm sure her stepchildren were already not fond of her because of her history with her marriages and husbands dying. And then this guy also dies. So I'm sure
number 3, right?
Yeah, this is the 3rd one. So they were probably not fond of her, but this choice made them even more suspicious. On to marriage number 4. Alice had not given up on love. Shortly after,
Of course not.
the first marriage, between marriage 1 and marriage 2 was 17 years. So then I'm thinking that she
Game
wasn't
on.
so much of a gold digger, but then eventually she was like, fuck it. She was just off in these guys. And for marriage 4, shortly after, like that very same year before, when in marriage 3 in 1316, she marries a 4th time. And this time she doesn't marry a moneylender. She marries a knight, Sir John Lepore, who also had children from a previous marriage.
Sir John the Poor.
Lepore. I
thought-
might be saying it wrong.
The Poor.
The poor.
So,
She would
Sir
never
John
marry a
Rich.
the poor.
The Poor.
That goes
Okay.
against her whole agenda.
And in 1324, Sir John Lepore also falls ill and dies, but not before verbalizing that he felt like he was being poisoned. So I'm guessing he was starting to feel a little bit off
He had the shits.
towards the end of his life.
Yeah, back then, if you had the shits, you were a goner.
It's true. They didn't have things like that pink stuff that you take now.
Pepto-Bismol.
Pepto-Bismol. Alice had left a trail of stepchildren in her wake, and they were all pissed off at her. So they all get together and decided that Alice was practicing witchcraft and accused her to the ecclesiastical authorities of maleficum, which is witchcraft.
Nice.
I like maleficum more.
Yeah.
It sounds better.
More official.
Right? Little history side trip here. So witchcraft was not seen as a huge deal under English law yet and was seen as a petty criminal offense because up until recently, it was actually really common to resort to like healers or
I was going to say.
good witches who used herbal medicine. Like
White
everybody
magic.
did that.
Yeah.
It was basically just knowing plants and herbs and like knowing what they do and how to use them.
And then when you get the shits, you called her.
You know what to take. Exactly. I don't know what you would take, but they did. And so
She wants some mint.
maybe, perhaps so. I'll try it next time. The idea
Keep
that
us all posted.
I will keep you all posted. The idea that witchcraft being the antithesis of Christianity actually began making some waves around the 11th and 12th centuries. So like right before this. But in the late 13th century is when witchcraft became downright fucking heresy and devil worship, as opposed to just like a little magical fun ritual to make the bad vibes in my house go away or a little tea to make my tummy feel better. Instead of it being just that,
You were dancing with the devil.
you're fucking the devil. So by 1285, some pope, actually Pope Alexander IV, legislated in favor of inquisitional prosecution for sorcery on the ground that it's in fact heresy. So what that is, inquisitional prosecution, is basically when they torture you to get the truth out of you.
Interrogation.
So, yeah. So basically, like, you're fucked either way, because if you confess, you're done. And
If you don't, they'll
if you
torture
don't,
you
they'll torture
until
you
you confess.
until you confess. So I don't know. They didn't really think that went through, but the
Or
church
they did.
Classic lose-lose situation.
The church was like, it's cool, that's fine, that sounds legit. But back to Alice's stepchildren, they were feeling this anti-witchcraft vibe. Like, they were loving this. They were feeling it, they were on it. And in 1324, they went to Richard Ledredy, who was the Bishop of Ossory, to accuse Alice of witchcraft. And let me tell you about the bishop.
Oh, God.
Richard Ledredy.
Your eyes lit up like you do when you're like, and let me tell you.
Let me tell you about Bishop Ledredy. He was particularly power hungry under the guise of defending the church. Ever since his arrival in Ireland in 1317 as a papal appointee, he clashed with the Anglo-Irish community. And he kind of wanted to come in and clean house in a very aggressive way and demanded strict adherence to the laws of the church.
He was a sadist, wasn't he?
He was loving this bishop power, and he wanted everybody to bend the knee. Like,
bow to him.
Yes, bow to this. And so, yeah, that's Bishop Ledredy. There were complaints against him. Bishop
and then they died.
Richard Ledredy even went bitching to the people about how this community was just not falling in line the way he thought that they would. Oh, sorry, not bitching to the people, bitching to the Pope about how the community that he was assigned to was just not doing what he wanted them to do.
Dad, they won't do what I said.
And Pope John the 22nd, between 1316 and 1334 was his popage, aligned with Ledredy. Is that what it would be called?
Is popage a word?
It is now.
I just laughed.
If it's not, it is. Popage.
I think it's papacy. I don't know. Maybe I make that one up too.
Popage. Hey, that's a new shirt.
He was getting his popage on, you know?
Get his popage on.
He was getting his popage on between those years, and he actually agreed with Ledredy on his fears of this magical so-called heresy. So Ledredy tried to use his power as papal appointee to bring to Ossory the inquisitional principles that he had learned in Avignon, the seat of the papacy at the time. So now I guess it's Vatican City. Back then it was Avignon.
That sounds like a Avignon. Like,
it sounds magical.
it does sound magical. Like something
like it's
from
from
like
Lord
The
of the
Lion, the
Rings.
Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah, like Narnia, something like that, in that realm. But yeah, so he wanted to bring that inquisitorial principle thing to here. That whole like torture until they confess thing.
Of course he did.
Yeah, because he's a sicko. An inquisitorial system is a legal system in which the court or part of the court is also responsible for investigating the facts of the case. So as opposed to being an impartial referee between the defense and the prosecution, like in an adversarial system. Thank
Okay.
you, Wikipedia.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're basically screwed.
Basically, yeah. Okay, so the charges. Alice was charged with denying Christ and the church. Sacrificing animals. Oh, okay. Sorry. There's 7 of them. That was the first one. Sacrificing animals to a demon named the Son of Art, supposedly cutting up the animal and scattering its parts across various crossroads in the city. Stealing the church keys to hold secret nighttime meetings, as one would, because where else are you going to hold your nighttime meetings?
That's called Girl Scouts.
Taking the skull of a robber and placing intestines and internal organs of cocks, worms, nails cut from dead bodies, butt hairs, and clothes.
So wait a second. Hold on.
I'm not done reading it.
Keep going with the list.
Okay, butt hairs and clothes from boys that died before being baptized. This is what love potion is apparently made of.
Butt hairs? I'm sorry. I was going to say, when you said cocks, I was thinking, okay, roosters. But then you said butt hairs. I'm like, maybe they mean dicks.
Oh, good point. I was thinking roosters.
But once you threw out butt hairs,
It could be.
it got real messy. And I don't think that's what love potions mean.
Now we don't know.
I don't know.
This is what the church came up with? I can't.
Okay, so
We should make this love potion and see if it works.
I thought I was giving you the recipe for a love potion, but now I'm not so sure. I'm gonna same concoction could be used to incite hatred, killing, and affliction of Christians.
Oh, it's a marriage potion.
So try it out and let me know which one it is. They accused her of having an incubus with whom she would fornicate, and his name was Aethiopus.
His name was Frank.
And he would appear to her as a cat, a shaggy black dog, or a black man. One of those three.
So she was banging a cat,
A dog.
a dog, and a black guy.
And he brought her wealth.
Nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Get it, Alice.
All of them brought her wealth, let's be real.
Okay, so the last two charges. That was only 5. There's 2 more.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
They claimed Alice had used sorcery to make these men obsessed over her and
Use the
murder
butt hairs
some.
for that.
So that's how you make a man obsessed with you.
Your butt hairs. So we're doing it all wrong with these Brazilian waxes. Keep your butt hairs and you'll be married.
This is the only logical explanation for how these men would hand over their wealth to her and her son, William Outlaw, leaving the stepchildren as pores, I would imagine. Last but not least.
Pores? I think it was
pores.
as pores as SpongeBob.
No, as pores.
I know.
Pores of the community.
Porpers.
We need to control operating.
I'm dying.
I gotta get that wine again.
I've got tears in my eyes. This is a good story. I really like this woman.
Me too. She sounds like she's got it figured out. I don't know why they hated her so much.
Because she robbed them. But yeah.
Cocks and butt hair is always good time.
Last but not least was the claim that she absolutely poisoned her most recent husband, Sir John Lepore. In 1324, he was described as looking emaciated, his nails were torn out, and he had no body hair, which are consistent symptoms with arsenic poisoning. Or maybe she was just taking his body hair and putting it into potions.
She was making potions. That's what I was thinking.
He's like, it's so cold. I don't know why.
She just keeps falling in love after that.
So yeah, all of those charges, and then at the very end, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I think she killed all her husbands.
I was going to say that last one was the
Last
most
but not
believable.
least.
Last but least.
Last but absolutely least. Okay, so now the legal shit show begins, and
Now it begins. 'Cause
Yeah,
that was-
wasn't enough. It's about to get real messy.
Oh god.
So Bishop Ledredy demanded that Alice be arrested. Under what authority, might you ask? Well, under the Decretal or Law UT Inquisitions of 1298, which was instituted for the protection of the faith. It demanded that the secular powers obey the diocese and arrest/deliver the accused to the prison or control of the bishops. So basically, like, it would be like the pastor telling the police officer to go arrest you because you did some shit. And they would just do it.
And thus the need for separation of church and state.
Yes. Exactly. So that's what Ledredy did. He quoted the shit out of this law and wrote to the King's Chancellor in Ireland demanding that he arrest Alice because he felt entitled to it. Sound crazy? It sure does. So should the secular powers be taking orders from the church? What do you guys think? Should there be some sort of separation of church and state like we just talked about? Perhaps so.
Can we repeat that a little louder?
Some people definitely thought so. The chancellor was Roger Outlaw, who actually is believed to have been the brother of Alice's first husband, but definitely at least a relative.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had a Mr. or Mrs. Outlaw in one of those.
Yeah, her first husband was William Outlaw, and this chancellor, Roger Outlaw, is believed to have been his brother, but at the very least a relative. Like, they were at least related, but it's most likely that he was his brother. He pleaded to the bishop on Alice's behalf that they just dismiss the case altogether. He was like, bro, bishop, you just gotta let this go. But Ledredy had it out for our girl Alice and refused to let this go because remember, he's super power hungry and like he wants to take her down. He's
got to prove a point.
He's got to prove a point because he just got to this place. He's bringing all of his beliefs with him, and these people will not fall in line.
You got to kill someone to make them listen.
That's right.
Already told the Pope. The Pope's like, yeah, your people need to fall in line, and it's just not happening. So this is him trying to prove a point, like you said. So he did not budge. The chancellor goes, fine, but actually I can't even issue a warrant until Alice undergoes a public prosecution. She's found to be a witch, excommunicated, and then 40 days go by. And then I can
40 days.
Just, I don't know where the 40 days comes from, but yeah, and 40 days goes by, and then I can give her time to run away, I guess.
Let's see if she takes
The
one.
legislative
That's
stuff.
a good head start, though, 40 days.
So since the chancellor didn't immediately arrest Alice, the bishop, using his God-given authority, summons Alice to come hither, to come to the church or wherever he's at. And our girl Alice pieced out to Dublin. She was like, fuck
She's
you.
like, I got 40 days.
She's like,
I'm out of here.
she clearly didn't respect his authority, and she pieced the fuck out to Dublin.
As would I.
Good for her, honestly. Most likely to see her brother-in-law, the chancellor, because he's in Dublin. He had sent appointees to show up to the summons in Kilkenny on behalf of Alice that day. So Alice was supposed to show up, but her chancellor-in-law sent appointees on her behalf to show up. And Bishop
He
Ledredy,
sends his posse to back her up.
his goons,
His goons, his leg breakers.
Bishop Ledredy followed the rules of the legal proceedings down to the T and managed to get Alice excommunicated. So even though she had kind of excommunicated herself already because she dipped and fled to where did I say
Dublin.
she fled to? Dublin. The bishop took it further and cited Alice's son William to also appear before him, charging him with heresy and
Ooh, you
protecting
don't mess with the
heretics.
mom's baby boy.
So now you're messing with the son as well. But remember how I told you guys that William had been dabbling in some politics? He had some friends in high places in Kilkenny. So specifically the seneschal, I don't know how to say that word, Seneschal. The seneschal Arnold Lepore, kind of like a governor in today's terms. He had power, basically. And Arnold Lepore had the bishop arrested and imprisoned for 17 days until after William's summons day had passed.
Wow.
Drama! You know
good.
I love the drama.
I told you these people were not bored.
Old-timey drama is the best.
It's like
But-
small town drama. It's true, though. You felt that in your soul.
Yes. And it was a bold move on behalf of Arnold to do this because of ecclesiastical decretal, Si Qui Sudante 1139, which is a law, an old-timey law, that forbade
I just heard a
laying-
lot of sounds.
I know. I don't know what I just said either, but this is the name of the law, so
I trust you.
trust me. Forbade the laying of violent hands on a monk or a cleric.
Who would do that?
I know.
Arnold would. It was such a big deal that only the Pope himself could forgive such a trespass of the law. So basically what he just did took some balls. Either way, Sheriff Stephen Lepore and his men show up to arrest the bishop and show him the warrant and let him know that they've been instructed to raise a hue and cry if he resists. So what a hue and cry is basically making a scene and enlisting bystanders to assist with the arrest of a criminal.
Ooh, we need to bring that back.
I was like, I would be good at that. I can make a scene.
Oh, I would have loved to see this back in the day. Bishop Ledredy had no plans on resisting, though. But he did make sure that everyone around him saw the warrant and who it was signed by, Arnold Lepore. He kept the warrant with him as his receipt that Arnold Lepore fucked up, and Bishop ensured that he was legit arrested by having the sheriff lay a hand on him, because according to the decree that I just read, he needed to have laid hands on him, or his horse, or his horse's bridle, as was the law. He probably could have got out on bail, but he chose not to because that would mean that he'd be admitting that the arrest was legitimate, and he could just not give Arnold Lepore that satisfaction. So for those 17 days that he was imprisoned, he was doing the most. He declared an interdict, which means that there was no baptisms, no marriages, no burials happening at the diocese until he decides to lift the interdict.
Oh, he had a fit?
He had a fucking fit.
He
a
had
little
a
bitch
tantrum.
fit,
They were like, pause all religious activity.
basically.
All
And-
your babies are going to hell, or you will be in limbo. because
Exactly.
I'm in
That's
jail.
why this was a big deal, because people were really into religion at the time.
And their babies died a lot.
Yeah. And people were scared that their loved ones were going to end up in hell if they didn't get a proper burial, that
Or
babies'
limbo.
souls were going to end up in hell because they didn't get baptized. And God forbid that you slipped up and had premarital sex, and then you're destined to hell too. So it was
we
a
can't
big,
confess.
it was a big deal that he was doing this. And he even ordered that the host be brought to him in prison. So the host is that thing that they have, like the bread, which is like the body of Christ or whatever, symbolizing that the body of Christ was also in prison.
Ooh.
Girl.
He imprisoned Jesus.
Girl.
He imprisoned. That's dramatic.
The drama was heavy.
Yeah, I'd be like, you know what? You can keep the body of Christ. Can I have the blood? Because I'm in jail. And something's gonna get
All
me
the
through
blood you
this.
can bring.
Wow.
Something's gonna get me through this.
He, like I said, he was
I'm in
doing
jail.
the
Well, so is
most.
Jesus. What now?
Homeboy was not holding back.
That's hilarious. That's a hissy fit.
Okay, yeah. So Bish continued to hold court from
Literally
the
Bish.
prison. I shortened it a lot in my thing to just Bish.
It's appropriate.
So Bish continued to hold court from the prison, and the clergy would just come see him there. And while Ledgerdy, I switch back and forth between calling him Ledgerdy and Bishop, whatever, same
We should
person.
go with fish.
So while Bish is there, he's over there doing all of that shit. Seneschal Arnold Lepore sent criers out to every market village to dig up dirt on the bishop. So he's not the only one doing the most. Arnold Lepore is over there trying to dig up dirt and find out if anybody knows anything about the bishop and
sleeping with
wants
a
to
nun?
complain. They were asking if any wanted to put in some complaints, or if their household wanted to put any complaints against Bish.
An altar boy, maybe.
Maybe a little altar boy. Anything he could find. William Outlaw was also doing some digging around the archives of the Chancery of the Liberty of Kilkenny and found an old complaint on the bishop that had actually been squashed already. But William also does the most. He writes it back up on a different piece of paper, crumples it up, and he steps all over it to make it look old and presents it to the seneschal, who then tries to have the bishop answer to it in his secular court.
So he forged paperwork.
Yeah. He's like, here, look what I found. Well, the bishop wasn't having that, and he said that he would only answer to this earthly garbage if it was the King of England himself.
Then he said, what would Jesus do?
And to be even more petty, he told them that he's not bound to answer charges from excommunicated men. Because remember, William was excommunicated. And eventually...
I'm sorry, I can't hear you from your jail cell. Those bars are just echoing.
No. William isn't in jail.
I know. I'm saying,
Oh, okay.
I won't talk to you because you're excommunicated. I can't talk to you because you're in prison. Felon.
So it was just one petty queen after another.
Yes.
Eventually, Arnold Lepore sends his uncle, the Bishop of Leyland, and the sheriff to release Ledgerdy after the 17 days. So if you couldn't tell already, the bishop is a stunt queen, total stunt queen. And direct quote, "It will not do for a bishop imprisoned for his faith in Christ to walk out of this prison as if he were a thief or a murderer."
Come on, Jesus, let's go.
So what does the bishop proceed to do? He was serving. He had his vestments delivered to the prison and catwalked out of that bitch in full regalia, followed by a procession of clergy and lady.
He
had
queen.
a whole fucking procession whenever he left the prison. He couldn't just leave the prison.
He Donald Trumped it. This is the first Donald Trump. We know who he was his
Reincarnation.
You know, I was like, he is a queen, but then I'm like, you know what? No, I like queens. So, like, no.
Total-
this guy's not
total stunt
worthy
queen.
of being a queen.
So now that he's out, though, you might think that the bishop would just chill out for a second, maybe
Absolutely
lay
not.
low. Absolutely not. No such thing. For the second time, Bishop Ledredy summons William Outlaw and his mother Alice to appear before him. But the day before they were ordered to show up, a sergeant shows up for Bish instead with a royal right ordering him to show up in Dublin before the Justice of Ireland to explain why the hell he placed an interdict on the diocese and to answer complaints made by Arnold Laporte against him. So now he's the one in hot water. He decides not to go. He doesn't go.
He's above that.
He's so above that.
Him and his BFF Jesus. He took his little cauldron full of Jesus and he walked away. I'm not going to that meeting.
He doesn't go. Instead, the bishop sends a proxy letting the justice know that he didn't feel safe traveling to Dublin because he would have to travel through Arnold Laporte's land. And the justice was not amused, and Ledredy's superior, the vicar of the Archbishop of Dublin, put an end to the interdict. So the bishop took a L on that one. He was like, sorry, you can't do this. He's persistent, though, as you can probably already predict.
They got nothing else going on.
The next drama happens at the court in Kilkenny.
With all this drama, Alice was just like, I'm going to go over here.
She did the smart thing. This girl's smart.
Yeah.
That's really her.
That's why she's a witch.
That's her crime,
Yeah.
is being smart.
No, smart women back then, burn them all. You're a witch.
So the next drama happens at the court in Kilkenny when the court was meeting, and the bishop asks for permission to address the court to plead that the heretics be arrested. So the whole thing that he was trying to do all along. Arnold Laporte says, fuck off. And the bish has not gone this far to just come this far. So, ever the stunt queen, Bishop Ledredy shows up to the court in full bishop regalia again with a copy of the decretal, full entourage of Dominicans and Franciscans, his entire cathedral chapel, serving Holy Crusade, holding the host in front of him like this.
He brought Jesus.
He brought Jesus with him, holding the host in front of him. He forced his way into Arnold's court.
Do you think he had a theme song? Like he had something playing as he walked in?
I hope he did. Maybe some sort of gong or something. I don't know.
He Prince Ali'd it.
Arnold Laporte thought he disrespected the court, and he was not having that. He ordered him to be removed from the court, calling him, quote, an ignorant, low-born vagabond from England.
Ooh, snap.
Which was a burn. You do not say that to the bishop. And the bishop was so indignant, he was indignant as fuck, and still holding up the host, responded with, quote, woe, 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 that Christ should be sent to stand at the bar, a thing unheard of since he stood trial before Pontius Pilate. So I think the bishop thought that he was the actual Christ as opposed to just a servant of Christ, which I'm pretty sure is the assignment. Like it went straight to his head, like his power. The bishop holds up the decretal and insinuates that although Arnold Laporte is only a knight, it can hardly read. He wants to make sure he can't plead ignorance, and proceeds to read out the decretal to him.
You know, the body of Christ is his Wilson from
Stating that the secular powers are supposed to turn over the heretics to the church and such. So, just so much going on.
So much.
Arnold Laporte was obviously enraged and basically told him to shove his decretals up his ass and to go preach them at his church where he belongs. And he was all about the whole church and state thing, so he wanted him to get the fuck out of his court. And he tries to have the bishop forcibly removed, but because he was carrying the host, which is the body of Christ, it would be like laying hands on Christ, and no one dared to do such a thing.
But they'll eat him. But they'll eat it.
They'll eat it. Yeah, that's
oh yeah,
fine.
you're not allowed to touch it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can't lay hands on Christ. And nobody dared to do such a thing. He eventually left on his own, but not before, again, demanding that William Outlaw and Alice Kyteler be arrested. He is so obsessed with her.
He really is.
So with all this drama, we haven't actually heard much from Alice, but at this...
If I were Alice, I would have just backed out real slow.
I would have gone further than Dublin.
Wait, hold on. Where did she go? Out.
She's over it, and at this point, she accuses the bishop of defamation of character.
That was Stalking.
You could do that.
I
back
guess
then?
they couldn't find any other dirt on him. But because
Ask
without
Jesus, I'm sure he knows. He's with him all the time.
because without a summons or an actual conviction, she was excommunicated on some bullshit charges, and this was enough for her to appeal to the Dublin court, who summoned the bishop to show up. Ledredy again just sends a proxy, like the spineless jellyfish that he is. And he was so butthurt that Alice was free to run around with men and women of power in Dublin, an indication of her status that she has obtained over the years. And Bish probably had no power aside from what the church had given him, and he was flexing. So he does finally show his face, though, only when he knows that he's going to have supporters. Ledredy always needed an entourage, as I've already mentioned, and you can probably deduce from the stories I've been telling about him. But it took the chancellor sending a letter with the king's seal asking the bishop to appear before the parliament in Dublin, where the justiciar of Ireland and the lords temporal and spiritual would be. So basically all his girls were going to be there. And he was like, okay, fine, I'll come. But Arnold the Poor and William Outlaw would also be there. It was about to go down. This is the main event. This is what everybody's been waiting for. Both sides would get to go off, and go off they did. Arnold said that he didn't have to obey the bishop, and said if some vagabond from England has obtained his bull in the Pope's court, we do not have to obey it unless enjoined on us by the king's seal.
We're going to bring back Vagabond.
He keeps calling him a vagabond.
That was a diss back
I think
then,
it probably
you know?
got under his skin, so he was like really about it. Mm-hmm. Arnold was pleading his fellow Anglo-Irishmen to join him in solidarity against not just Bishop Ledredy, but basically what the bishop represented. And I'm not mad at it, because here's what he said. As you well know, heretics have never been found in Ireland, which has always been called the Island of Saints. Now, this foreigner comes from England and says we're all heretics and excommunicates. Defamation of this country affects every one of us, so we must all unite against this man. Not mad at it.
Sound argument.
He sounds
good.
Pretty fucking reasonable to me. But this is a battle that he did not win. And in the end...
Of course, it was reasonable.
In the end, the court ruled in favor of Bishop Ledredy because you don't come after the church. Not in this day. Like, the church just had too much power at this point, and you just don't come after the body of Christ. The bishop was allowed to go after Alice Kyteler legally now. But Alice had already had a bad feeling about this. And by this point,
Something about this feels wrong.
Yeah.
she had already fled to Dublin, and she was never heard from again. She had already fled Dublin, not to Dublin.
I was going to say, yeah, I would have gone farther.
She fled Dublin and was never heard from again. Rumors are that she probably went to England or Flanders.
Well, I would go to England. Apparently, he really hates it there. So,
Her not wealthy supporters, her poors, were imprisoned at this point, and the bishop prosecuted each one using the inquisitorial procedure allowed by the papal decree. So the whole fucking torture thing.
ugh.
Everyone confessed because
It was torture.
William also confessed and bent the knee to the bishop. I know. William was then imprisoned in Kilkenny Castle. William was still influential, though, so he got his friends to talk to the bishop and to just give him penance instead. So instead of being in prison, he got penance. And this involved William going to mass 3 times a day for a year.
Oh my God. Jeez.
He had to feed the poor, and he had to
prison.
fix the... He had to feed the poor, and he had to fix the roof of St. Canice's Cathedral with lead, because I guess it had holes in it or something.
How would he even have time if he's in church 3 times a day? Like, if you're in church 3 times a day,
But
I'm
he's
guessing
got money. He
in
can probably
between
pay-
breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because he's got to feed the poor, then he's got to fix a roof. I'm trying to average that out.
I was just assuming money, because they know he has money, and they just want him to
Oh, so he doesn't have to serve them.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was physically serving the poor.
I'm like, man, that's a lot of hours that I didn't know how to fit all that in.
However, the bishop heard rumors that William wasn't holding up his end of the deal and imprisoned him again.
Oh, snap.
I guess he wasn't going to church 3 times a day, or not feeding enough poor people, or not filling up enough
Or he
holes
was
with
really
lead.
bad with the roof. Like, he didn't know how to do
Yeah,
that.
I guess. I don't know. So it said that on that same day that he got re-imprisoned, Petronilla de Media, Alice's maid, she was burned at the stake for being a heretic. She had been flogged 6 times.
Ooh.
According to the church law, this was due process for getting the confession out. So
That's torture.
yeah, but it was actually not legal according to the law of the land here on earth, secular law as we've been calling it. But he was still allowed to do it. And Petronilla, she confessed to helping Alice with 6 of the 7 crimes mentioned earlier. One confession was rubbing ointment on a broomstick so that they could fly. As unreliable as a tortured confession is, the public was hanging on every word, though. And Ledredy wrote her confessions, like in his diary or whatever, the writings from Ledredy that we have, is that she had poured, it's what I was mentioning earlier, that she had poured out the cock's blood, like spread it everywhere or whatever. It's a direct quote, but I'm not going to reread it because I actually just said it earlier. But whenever they were looking for evidence, they went to Alice's home and they found that she indeed owned a broomstick.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
God. How dare she?
And they found a pipe of ointment, which is actually most likely to have just been a dildo. They confiscated her dildo and her broomstick as evidence that she was a witch.
She's like, I've been married 4 times.
Well, that's 17 years. That's how she got through that.
If those
So-
4 can't make it happen, this
Way to
will.
go, Bishop. Thank you for protecting the community from the broomsticks and the dildos of the community.
How dare she clean house and get off?
So Bishop Ledredy could not explain why Petronilla was the only one that took the punishment by herself whenever there were other quote-unquote heretics that were also helping her with whatever the fuck she was doing, when the rest of the heretics were released on payments. So, like, everybody else was just, like, paying them off and, like, leaving. But Petronilla had to get burned at the stake. Her crimes were sorcery, lot-taking, and offering sacrifice to demons, consigned to the flames and burned. Before Petronilla was burned at the stake, it was unheard of in Ireland for someone to undergo such a fate for heresy. That must have scared the bejesus out of William, though, because he fully submitted to the bishop after this, even bowing down before him in the mud, pleading to him in front of a crowd of clergy and laity for him to take mercy on him. And the bishop was probably loving this. Like, this is what he wanted the entire time. This is the reason that he's gone through all of this shit, was for this. So obviously the bishop wasn't going to release his penance or let him go free. He actually increased the penance and ordered William to pay a visit to the Holy Land. I'm not sure what that was supposed to do, immediately. And now, actually, the roof of the church needs more lead. There's more holes to fix, and you better do it within the next 4 years. Funny enough, in 1332, the weight of the lead roof in St. Canice caused it to cave in.
Too much lead.
Too much fucking lead. I don't know. I think that's symbolism for something.
Karma's a bitch.
Yeah.
And that's the story of how Alice probably did kill her husbands for financial reasons, but how else was a girl to gain money back in those days? I'm just kidding. Don't kill your husbands. back then or now, don't kill your husbands. But anyway, so however, instead of proving murder, it was probably easier to prove heresy and running her out of town using religion than proving that she actually did something wrong. This was
That's sad.
Yeah, this was setting the stage, though, for many more witch hunts to come in history, as we very well know. And as for Bishop, he went on to be a lunatic for more years to come, eventually being accused of being power hungry and senile in 1350.
Eventually.
He is Trump! In 1356. And persecuting his parishioners. You don't fucking say. Kind of like the way he persecuted Alice and how Arnold tried to warn everybody. And in 1360, he finally kicked the bucket and died. Yeah, that's the story of Alice Kyteler.
I like Alice. That was a good one.
What a shitstorm,
Oh
huh?
my God. It was really the
One
story
time.
of all these bitchy men.
And they say we're emotional.
Yeah, those guys kind of.
I mean, imprisoning Jesus, that.
Alice was just maintaining her cool. She just like fled and stayed far away from all the drama.
Oh, no, she was good.
Yeah, if you think
were
about it,
immense.
she was just like, see ya.
It
And
was
then
the men
these
doing the
fellas were going back
most.
like, no, you didn't.
That's
Oh,
so
no,
funny.
you didn't.
That was a good one. I've never heard of that. They should make a movie out of that.
Oh,
That was a lot of fun to research.
That would be a mini series. That's got a lot of layers to it.
It would be a biopic.
Yeah.
Biopic. I can't say that word.
Biopic,
Biopic.
I think.
It's a biopic. Well, that was really awesome. We'll be posting. Do you even have pictures or paintings?
I have paintings.
Excellent.
I don't know if she actually looked like that. There's a few of them that I saw online, but who really knows what she looked like?
Yeah. Well, you have something. We'll be posting
I'll
on
post
our
something.
Instagram. But you can also write in. Make sure you write in with your stories.
Oh
And
my
your,
gosh, follow us on Instagram. Interact with us. We love that shit.
Yep. Write into us. Tell us what you want to name the Dahmer Park, because I'm really curious about that.
Definitely not Dahmer Park.
I've just named it. Hope you keep listening. Subscribe, write a review, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.